Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to FAPA's podcast. We're excited to go ahead and be here with some representatives from Delta Professional Services. We have got Bob and Mark. And let's go ahead and get right into it, guys. Tell us a little bit about Delta Professional Services.
No, that's great. Well, thank you for having us today. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak about it. Marc Lippens, I'm the president of Delta Professional Services, or DPS as we like to call it. DPS is the wholly owned subsidiary of Delta Airlines. We've functioned as a wholly owned since January of 2019. Prior to that, the group that we work with was a part of a much larger subsidiary here at Delta. And that was divested back in 2018 and DPS was stood up. At the time, DPS was primarily focused on supporting the training needs of our parent company, Delta Airlines. And we have done that very well over the years. In fact, this year we're going to grow to a point to where we will provide over 40,000 training events for Delta Airlines with our DPS employees. However, when I was brought in as president in May of 2021, the question was, what else could DPS be? How could we grow this company into something that is really an industry leader in this area of flight training and standards? So put together a business plan, brought in some key individuals, Bob Skinner being one of them, and he'll talk in a minute about his background and what he brings to our company. But we brought in some key individuals and brought together the business plan, and we said that what we do for Delta Airlines is we provide high quality, highly experienced individuals from the flight training and standards world. And we supplement the training center here at Delta with those individuals and provide a great service. We said we could take that into the industry and we could provide that to many people. And that's gone very well for us. That really started in January of 2022. And since then, we've been able to land companies such as FedEx, Hawaiian Air, working with an MD-88 group called USA Jet out of Detroit area, and then a small manufacturer known as the Boeing Company. I say small, it's a joke, but we were able to land the Boeing Company as well here in Miami. And we're doing for them what we've done for Delta for years. That's providing that highly qualified, highly experienced supplemental flight training and standards expertise to make their training centers the best that they can be, not only with throughput, but with the opportunity to provide their pilots to do what they do in the major air carriers, that's fly their airplanes, as well as bring in individuals that have done this job for many years, have great time on the aircraft, and bring a higher level of quality than anybody else in the industry can bring, in my opinion. Of course, I'm kind of biased that way. But so yeah, DPS, we call ourselves the premier flight training and standards company. We are here to provide services to anyone really in the industry that needs them. And we think that we not only bring in that expertise and that quality, but we also have a great impact on the safety of the airline. We have a great impact on the training output of the individual, as well as the ability to bring expertise in many different areas, which we'll be able to discuss during this podcast. So quickly, that's who DPS is. I'd like Bob to kind of give his background because it speaks to the quality of individual that we have here at DPS on our leadership team and in all of our instructor and services corps.
Well, thank you, Mark. My name is Bob Skinner. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Delta Professional Services. I come here after retirement of a 43-year airline career, of which 35 of them were in flight training and standards. I held basically every job in flight training and standards, starting with a check airman, line check airman, other manager positions, and ending my career as a managing director of flight training and standards for 2 major airlines. With that in mind, I was looking for an opportunity. My wife reminded me following COVID that maybe retirement wasn't in my best interest. Maybe I needed to find something to do. And like many of you, I believe you're going to see the same thing. And Delta Professional Services, first and foremost, is a great place to work. The culture, the support of individuals is a great place to work. And that's what really drew me to DPS. Being part of a team that's known to be the best is another thing. The compensation, the benefits, everything associated with DPS drew me here. And I can tell you, almost after 2 years, it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. What a great team of individuals here that we have. We all know flight training is all about safety. And how do you create safety? You hire the right people first. So that's what we do. We hire the best of the best. We empower them with training, with support. They are then given to great clients who can do great things, such as the Boeing company, such as FedEx, many others. So I see this as a great opportunity for you if you're considering a career after that, and look forward to talking to you.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and a couple other questions following that up. That you've talked about what you guys go and do as far as the simulator side of things. So why would an instructor candidate choose DPS over some of the other opportunities that might be available to them?
No, that's a great question. And when you look at it, there are a lot of great opportunities out there for instructors. And some of the things that we think we bring to the table that are different, one is that quality of life. When you look at it, we operate on a flex schedule. We don't expect our instructors to work full time unless they want to work full time. Our benefit package and our compensation packages are designed around incentives that drive that extra work. So somebody that wants to come in and just stay in the industry, work a flex schedule, be able to kind of set their own calendar, they can come in and do that and continue to have a great impact in this industry going forward. And then somebody that's really energized to come in and drive towards doing this in a more lucrative fashion, our incentives allow that to happen. And so people that work more are going to get paid more. It's a great opportunity. And of course, I can't think it's kind of the pilot way, right? It's the opportunity to incentivize people to pick up time and pick up work, yet they don't have to do that in this job. It's a great place. And then the other side of that is from the quality of life opportunity, we have many options that can keep them close to home. We have great commuter benefits, so people that have to commute, we can allow that. But because we're pocketed all the way from Miami to Honolulu, we have the opportunity for those people to stay closer to home and have shorter commutes instead of having to look at a place all the way across the country to go to work for maybe something that maybe looks a little more attractive, but eventually wears them down because of the time spent going back and forth to those locations. So those are a couple of the areas, but then I think it's even more important to talk a little bit about the emotional piece of it. I call it the emotional piece. When you get to the opportunity to come into a place like DPS, I think the most important thing is you want to be valued. And our instructors are incredibly experienced, incredibly qualified, and incredibly valued here at DPS. I was talking to somebody the other day, and there has been a couple of incidents recently, some things that have happened, and they've all turned out very well because of the experience of the pilots. When you see an incident that happens and you hear, well, this pilot was the most senior pilot in the left seat, and we've got the most senior FO in the right seat, and their experience and quality of training and all the things that they've done to prepare themselves got them to this point. I kind of thought, well, wait a minute, that's who DPS is. When you think about what we do, experience not necessarily is taught, it's lived. Now, you can experience things in a simulator, you experience things in your training, that sort of thing to prepare you, but that time of actually doing it hands-on, that's lived. But the knowledge that comes from experience, that can be taught. And what we bring to the table is we bring those individuals with the great experience, and then we value their experience. We want them to know that they come to DPS because they are the best of the best. We don't take everyone. I think that's important, that we are very choosy about who we take because we are looking for the who, not the what. And we're looking for the right person to support our clients. And so coming to DPS, it's an opportunity to, when you've reached the top of your career and the pinnacle of your livelihood there, to continue to be seen as the best of the best, to be seen as the top, because we do believe we are the best of the best out there. We are the number one company when it comes to flight training and standards. But Bob can speak a little bit more. And I'll say this, I am not a pilot. I am the business guy. Now, I'm a fan of pilots, especially when we're in the air. Big fan of pilots when we're in the air. But in the end, I'm the business guy. But really, what it comes down to is ensuring that our company has a culture of value and ensuring our company has a culture of respect for the level of talent and the experience that our pilots bring to the table as instructors. But Bob, maybe a little bit more about what it means from a pilot perspective to come to DPS.
Yes, thanks, Mark. And we all know that at age 65, you're forced to retire. You're at the top of your game. I've flown many last trips with pilots and saw the tremendous talent, and that they're at the pinnacle of where they are, and the next day they're unemployable, or those that have lost their medical certificate. Uh, although they're forced to leave the airline, we provide them an opportunity to continue their aviation career. And we know that so many people that retire have so much more to give, that want to give, and that want to help shape the next generation of pilots. That this is why this opportunity is so attractive to so many. And you could see, and every day we talk to our instructors and to see the enjoyment they get out of continuing to work within the industry. And of course, they could do that at a reduced schedule. They're not having to work a full month. And that's what makes it attractive. We have a very high retention rate. Why? Because it is a great place to work, and because there's a lot of job satisfaction in what they do.
That's a lot of fantastic information. Both of you were talking a little bit about it doesn't have to be full time. As I talk to a lot of pilots at retirement, very often they're saying, I'm looking to do something, but I don't want to do full time, or I still want to have a good quality of life. I still want to be home. I don't want to have to move. The part-time, the quality of life, the commuting opportunities, you guys kind of hit all three of those. It's great. Sounds fantastic. Both of you talked about the candidates and the instructors that you have. Bob, I think you said best of the best. Mark, I think you and Ed said, the creme de la creme, the right stuff and all of that. Can we get more specific? What are some of the things that you look for in a candidate, or maybe rephrasing, how can a candidate set themselves apart to go ahead and show that they are the right stuff for DPS?
Well, I'm going to defer to Bob for all the numbers because, as I said before, being the business guy, I don't like to put numbers out there when they're wrong. So I'll let Bob speak to that. But I can tell you from my chair, what I'm looking for is somebody that wants to bring that same quality of talent that they brought to the flight deck every day into the simulator, into the training center. Because we're going to talk a little bit about, we don't just hire the instructors, right? When we say flight training and standards, we're hiring people across the entire gamut of what that means. And what we're looking for is people that don't just want to hang around. We want people that want to impart. We want people that want to mentor. We want people that want to leave a legacy, because that drive or that want to continue to be at the top, that's what makes a great employee at DPS, and that's what makes DPS so great. So from my chair, I'm looking for the right who. I'm looking for that person that is still driven to make this industry great, to make this industry the safest it can be, to make this industry the best it can be, and those people that are driven there. So I think the first thing is not looking at this like, what am I going to do when I retire? Looking at this like, hey, this is what I'm going to retire to. An old friend once asked me, the question isn't what are you retiring from? It's what are you retiring to? And so for our retired pilots, we want them to feel like this is what they're retiring to. They're retiring to this stage of their career, and they're going to still have a great impact and a great opportunity to influence the industry in the next generation of pilots, as well as we'll talk a little bit. Hopefully we'll get some time to talk about some of the other groups that we hire. It's not just retired pilots, but again, it's all about that opportunity to influence, to mentor, and to have a legacy of continuing to drive this industry forward, make this industry safer, and make the training and standards world better for all of aviation.
Absolutely, Mark. And Mark hits it well when he says the who, not the what. we're looking for people that are dedicated in customer service and standards. Those two things make good training, and that's where we work on. Our minimums they vary depending on our clients that we deal with. Our 121 clients, we're looking for those pilots that have flown in a 121 carrier and have at least 2,000 hours and captain experience, preferring sometimes instructor experience. But it all goes back to the who, not the what. We can train people, but we can't change them personality wise and their commitment to giving the absolute best going forward.
Awesome.
If I could follow that up real quick, sorry, Tim, if I could follow that up, because, it's hard, right? It's hard when you get to that moment and you've been at the best and you've been at the top and you've been flying great opportunities. And you get to that point and then you're like, oh, you're told it's over, but it's not over. I think that's the greatest thing that we bring to the table is it's not over. And the people that look at this and say, this is an opportunity for me to continue to drive in this industry, continue to make this industry great. I'm really landing on that because that is so important. So you said what sets somebody up for great success. It's don't look at that point as the end. Look at it as at the next opportunity, the next step. Come to this place excited, charged up, looking at this as just another phase of your aviation career and taking full advantage of that. So I think the most important thing is drive. I'm a passionate guy. You'll hear that as we talk. And people that are passionate about what they do and have great drive, I think those are the people that really set themselves up for success for us.
Fantastic. You had said if we have the opportunity to talk about some of the other positions, here is that opportunity. Besides flight simulator instructors, what else what are the other type of candidates y'all are looking for?
No, that's great. So we provide support across all areas of flight training and standards, right? So we talk about curriculum. We're looking for people that like to, people that maybe have built curriculum over the years, have been involved in managing training plans. Those are remote jobs. Those are jobs that people can take and work from the house. We'll provide them all the technical skills, all the tools they need, and they can build and draw and build curriculum for clients, build curriculum for we have a Part 142 school. They can support our 142 curriculum as well. So people that have expertise in curriculum, maybe they don't want to commute and be an instructor, but they do have a background of working in that flight training world and working in the curriculum world, and they want to continue to contribute, as well as non-pilots that have curriculum experience that we bring into the table to help us build out throughout all of our client groups. And then we've got planners and schedulers. We're looking for people that, maybe have worked in leadership or management over planning and scheduling and training, scheduling, that sort of thing. We have an entire group of schedulers here. We have a full planning team where we support our clients, whether it be doing direct training and scheduling for a client or doing indirect training and scheduling for our instructors for the client. We have the gamut of training and scheduling and planning there. Management experience. I think that's another area that, we have a lot of pilot managers out there that get to the end and then they don't necessarily want to go back and be an instructor, but they want to stay involved in training in standards world. So we have a number of management opportunities for leaders to continue to lead in this industry. We're working with a carrier now that it's a Part 135 group that we potentially will be, expanding our reach there. So we're going to be talking about things in terms of compliance and record keeping and just drew a blank, Bob. But we look at human factors, we look at CRM, we look at all of the things. We even are involved in safety. We did a LOSA study with a client recently. We're currently working on a rewrite of a ground operations manual for a client. So we actually support the training and standards world across the gamut of every aspect of it. And we're looking for people that have those talents. So it's not just getting on a plane and commuting in or being local and going into the training center and teaching in the simulator. It's having that ability and expertise across all aspects of flight training and standards. Some can be remote work, some can be done 10 to 20 hours a week, some can be done, a couple of projects a month or a couple of projects a year, which allows them to continue to stay involved in the industry and stay involved with all of our benefit packages, which include great commuter benefits as well as leisure travel benefits on our parent company.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's so much that you guys do. I mean, is anyone's watching this, there's that one person that you just said something, they're like, yes, I have done that. That is me. So it's something for everybody, whether it's a pilot or instructor or not. So very exciting. It's a pretty wide variety. We've spent a lot of time talking about the pilot that's getting ready to retire. There's life after retirement, continuing their career. What are you retiring to? Are all of your instructors past age 65?
No, believe it or not, we have a wide group of some that have either been flying and lost their medical and they want to continue in this industry. We've got a really unique instructor, came to us from a regional airline, ended up having cancer, and she was aviation nuts, loved the industry, loved doing what she was doing, and then realized that she wasn't going to be able to do it anymore because of an illness. And she came, we got information about her, found out she now works as a flight training procedures instructor, so at FTPI, working for us in the simulator world. But we've got her involved in projects, we've got her involved in hiring, we've got her involved in working on different areas. And she is just so excited to still be in this industry and hoping one day to get back into flight deck. So we have a number of people like that come into here, and we provide them that gap when they maybe have a time when they're not able to get into flight tech versus the time when they can get back. Then there are the others that are just ramping up. We've got some other unique people that have come to us, whether they be a background in aviation but are unable to fly, so they still want to be involved. We've got some that were from the maintenance world, are very good in procedures and very good in the systems and that sort of thing. And so they work with us in a variety of areas, as well as, like I said before, we've got groups of people that are growing through this industry and that are staying involved. We've got an individual right now who is working his way towards his hours to become a pilot, and he's working with us while he does that because it gets him exposure into the industry, gets him involved in the industry, working with our ATP CTP program. I didn't mention that, but we actually provide an ATP CTP course here on the Delta campus as well as in Miami, where we'll do 1,200 aspiring pilots will go through that course this year. And it's another great opportunity for us to continue to get back into the industry. And we see some people that are working on their hours, they want to come to work here because it exposes them to the industry, exposes them to a major air carrier while they're gaining time, while they're doing their flying, as well as gives them some offset to that. So we have a wide number of people in the aviation industry, not just the retired pilot from that area. So Bob, did I forget anybody?
No, there's an opportunity for just about everybody at DPS, and that's why we continue to grow it. We're also growing into the 135 world that will give people that are growing in the industry opportunities here also. So I think that's a good point, that we do not just hire people over 65.
Fantastic. All right, a couple more kind of fun questions from each one of you. What is your most interesting interview story?
Oh boy, I can take that.
You got to pick one. You just got to pick one.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can make it easy for you. We have an 8 to 10 minute presentation that our aspiring instructors go through, and it has to be non-aviation orientated. So it sets the playing field right there. We've learned to ballroom dance. We've learned to cook. We've learned how to put a septic system in. We've learned how to play golf. We've learned how to drive. We've learned how to back a motor home into a site. But what it does is it gives them the ability to facilitate, to instruct, in an atmosphere that's easy for them to do. So those have been the stories that'll stick with me forever, especially the ballroom dancing one.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I've got one that's kind of interesting, but we had to stop it after this one. So somebody came in and taught us how to make the best margarita. Well, that was a great day.
Oh, that's awesome. I remember when I was going through my instructor training, just to go ahead and kind of what you're talking about, getting the teaching genes going, warm up for the day, would always go ahead and do something medical. I used to go ahead and work as an EMT. And so we'll be tracing a drop of blood through the body just to go ahead and kind of get you going. But I remember I had a person come in for an interview one time. They sat down and said, "Good morning. Is this conversation being recorded?" And I said, "No." And they said, "You probably don't get that a lot." I'm like, "No, I don't." And they were like, "Yeah, because not everybody says good morning." I was like, okay, that was an interesting one. So, one last question for each one of you. We work in the aviation industry, whether we're a pilot or otherwise. We're in this industry because there's something about aviation that we love. Normally, people that fall in love with aviation fell in love with airplanes, first of all, or aircraft of some sort. So, if you had to, again, just pick one, what is your favorite aircraft? And this could be real or fictitious. You could have flown it or not. What's your favorite aircraft? Or let's say flying machine. Let's really go ahead and open it up.
That's a good one. Once again, I'm going to cheat a little on the answer. Airline wise, it would be the Boeing 727. It was the first aircraft that I got to fly in my airline career as a flight engineer and a pilot. I'm a big fan of the Boeing products all along, and I'm a big fan of the Boeing company. As far as warbirds would be, World War II warbirds would be, military-wise would be my favorite. And for general aviation, the RV-7 Vans aircraft, and I have one of those.
Awesome. You mentioned warbirds. Which one?
Oh my!
If you had to pick one.
I would say it would be the P-51 Mustang. It's just an exciting airplane for me.
Awesome. All right, Mark.
Yeah, mine. So I'm actually an Air Force veteran, so spent time in the Air Force and worked on air traffic control radar. So I got my love of aviation by treading through the swamps in Homestead, Florida, to manage the radar sites that we had down there. But what was unique about my time in the Air Force is I happened to be at Homestead when they transitioned from the F-4 to the F-16. And so really got an opportunity to watch that go, watching the F-4s fly. They were still flying some reserve F-4s. Those planes were just really unique and exciting. And then because the Homestead at the time was the Air Force Conference Center, I got to see a variety of aircraft come in and out of that location. It was able to tour Air Force One, able to get up on the AWACS plane, some of the stuff there, and just see some very unique aircraft. So kind of, partial to the military aircraft, really loved the F-15, loved watching the F-15 fly and just the way that it did what it did, the maneuvers that it had. But, I think that our time with Boeing, now that we're working with the Boeing company and just kind of seeing some of the work that they're doing and watching, getting involved in some of their new aircraft and being able to work with our people training on the Boeing stuff. I've been able to have enough luck to get in some of the simulators here at Delta. And so, I've not done great, but I've not done bad flying, and being a non-pilot flying in a simulator. But, just that feel of being, behind the Boeing 777 was the first one I got in, and that was such a great aircraft that Delta doesn't fly it anymore, so we don't get that opportunity. But we've had some great experience with them and really excited about that partnership. I just think that what we're doing down in Miami with the Boeing company just opens so many more doors for our instructors. And you talked about non-retired instructors, people that have that background and just that opportunity to work with a company like that, as well as what we do with FedEx and Delta in those areas. So, but yeah, the military aircraft, especially the F-4. The F-4 was cool to watch that thing fly around and be able to still see that and see it, having to land, shoot the chutes out the back to slow it down, even on a long runway to Homestead. That was pretty incredible.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate your time. We're kind of wrapping up. Any last thoughts? The closing thoughts, closing argument, whatever we want to call it.
Well, Bob, I'll let you go first because you know me, I always like to talk last. That's the president's role, right? I get to go last.
Well, I hope if anything today, many people that are approaching retirement realize that you have options. You have many options. And at DPS, we understand that. We understand it's your option whether you work or not, who you work for, and how much you do it. And that's at the core of what we do. Also, this is a great place to work. I encourage you to contact us, communicate with us, get to know us. And our assets are truly our people. We are not brick and mortar asset company. Our assets lay within our people, and they're doing a great job throughout the country. And there's a lot of job satisfaction to it. So come and join us.
Thank you so much.
So I'm going to read off the card just so I get it right. But you know, the first thing I would say is don't take our word for it. I think that's what's most important. You know, I'm always a firm believer in it's not what you say that matters, it's what you do. And I also believe that telling the truth means never having to remember what you said. So don't take our word for it. Check us out. I think that's the most important thing, is that what you'll find is what we say is exactly how we feel and exactly what we mean. And the way our company treats people is exactly what we say. But you know, you can reach out to us at dpsrecruiting@dps.delta.com. I think that's the first thing, is that'll get you in touch with our sourcing team. They can begin the conversation with you. You can look at us at delta.com/DPS careers. That's another place to find out more information. But I really do encourage you to check us out. You know, we can get up here and talk all we want, and you can hear all the good stuff, but it's what's really involved here, what really happens when you come on site. And I think what you'll find is exactly what we say. We'll find a place that values you, values what you've done in this industry, and values who you want to be in this industry. Come leave a legacy, come impart that knowledge, come bring that experience. Or even if you're just getting started and you want to find another way to get involved and get excited about where aviation is taking you, we've got that opportunity for you as well. So I'm humbled to lead this organization. I say that every day because it's just so rare that you get to work with the quality of people that we have here at DPS, whether it's out there in our corporate office or in all of our field. Everybody that's out there doing what they do for us, it's an honor and a pleasure to do it. And just come check us out. You'll like what you find.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it. Everybody, thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to talking to everybody soon.